Hello YouTube, it's Dearenee. Thank you for tuning into another video. Thinking less can be better for you. That's the title of today's video. And initially that may not make no sense. I didn't want to change the title and put the title as what I originally saw it was. I think the person who I got the inspiration for, they said that stupid people go far, or like stupid people do better than other people. Something like they're smart. I can't remember what it said, but it was something like upon those lines. But for me, I've just taken thinking less can be better for you. And the aspects that, I'm gonna take my hands off the table because I can see the camera shaking, but the aspects that I've taken that from is in, for example, business, in socializing, and in life. And the reason why I say that is because overthinking, it can be seen as a superpower. Like if you overthink a lot of situations, then you're more likely to overplan a lot of situations, a lot of scenarios. And in some circumstances, that actually just can be better for you. In terms of business growth, in terms of doing something that you have never done before, overplanning can sometimes be better. But the situations that I have painted, I think that in those situations, thinking less is actually more beneficial. Because if you actually dwell inside of your overthinking or continuously overthinking these scenarios specifically, I don't think it would actually do better for you. I think it would actually detriment you and stop you from doing the things that you should be doing. So the first talking point that I had was, in business, you don't overthink the risk and cost, you just start. And from when I have started doing what I do for work, because I work online, I've seen that the one thing that was holding me back from initially starting was I was overthinking the situation. I was asking so many questions, and it's not a thing of saying, don't ask all these questions, don't actually try and know what you're entering. But I think if you keep asking all the questions and try to have all the answers before you start to do what you want to do, it's actually going to hold you back because you would never get all the answers. The majority of the answers to the questions that I was asking prior, I learned through experience. I never actually got them answered from the people who helped me get into what I'm doing. I never got those things answered. I had to go into that aspect for myself and actually learn and get the answers myself, because a lot of the answers come from experience. If you just go into it saying, okay, what about this? Okay, what about this? What about this small part? Or what about this small part? And then you also start asking questions about things in the future. You're asking about problems that you don't even have. And that leads into the next point. You don't think about the what ifs. You just worry about the now and solve the problems on the way. And for me, in business specifically, that's actually a healthier mindset, because if all you do is focus on, okay, the what ifs, especially if you're newer to business and you're starting something that isn't as expensive. If you're entering something that's really, really expensive, okay, so I've lost my voice, but if you're entering something that's really, really expensive with a large barrier to entry, okay, I'll understand that aspect, because you would need to pre-plan, have a team with you, and for you to be able to execute these certain things. But for the easier small things that don't actually cost you a lot, just go into those things. Worry about the things later. Enter whatever you're trying to do and just start. Because getting started is better than not getting started. Because if you don't get started and ask all the questions, well, you will never actually start. You will never get the wheel rolling. And ultimately, the whole point is actually getting the wheel rolling. And I've seen from myself, as I said, from when I started, I used to overthink a lot about, okay, what about this aspect? What about this aspect? A lot of the things I was asking about, and I've been doing for like a year now, a lot of the things I was asking about, I still have not even run into those issues myself now. And if I have, then there are issues that I'm even trying to still solve to now. Imagine before I even got into the business, I'm trying to solve those issues. The majority of the issues that you come up with, that you try and ask questions about prior, you don't even see them until so far down into the business or so far down into what you want to do. So overthinking in that aspect, it actually is a detriment, because you will never actually get started. And getting started is more important than anything. It's just about getting results on the board, getting results on the board, getting results on the board. Okay, there's a problem here. Okay, let me sort out this problem. There's a problem there. Let me sort out this problem. But you do it as the wheel is rolling. Don't try and solve the issues before the wheel starts rolling, because you will never get started. You'll always be overthinking, saying, okay, let's say you want to start, I don't know, let's say you want to start something. And then you're thinking, okay, but what about this? Okay, but what about that? It's going to stop you. It's going to actually hinder you, because you're going to be downplaying or negatively thinking about what you should be doing already. And you're going to be thinking, but what about that? What about that? And then you'll never actually want to do it in the first place. You'll find so many faults. One thing that I hear a lot of people say is certain things are oversaturated. But you should actually enter it yourself and find out whether it's actually oversaturated or not. Okay, let's say you've dedicated a lot of time towards it. Now it's oversaturated in your opinion, or now that you've tried to do it and it's not working, okay, I understand. But don't try and make excuses or complaints about something or a business model which you have not even entered yourself. Don't try and say this is that or that is that before you've even tried it yourself. The next aspect is in socializing. And I've said here, you don't overthink when approaching and trying to make friends. You just do it. And one thing I've seen, one of the best growths that I've seen in my own life is that I don't overthink when I actually approach people anymore. There's people who have just said, okay, you look like a cool person. Do you want to be friends? And that's actually a very weird approach when you actually think about it. It's actually very weird. But I'm not overthinking it. I'm not saying, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'm just saying, no, I want to be friends with this person. Let's just be friends. Or I'd say I want to talk to this person. Let's just have a conversation. Why not? We don't actually lose anything from the conversation. We just have a conversation. And I've seen before when I was younger, I used to overthink. I used to say, no, okay, what if they don't want to speak to me? What about this? Okay, what about that? This is not going to change anything. Like, overthinking that does not change anything. If I approach, then I'll get the real answer. Thinking about the possible result before I even do it is ludicrous. Because I'm thinking, okay, what if they don't like me? What if this? What if that? You will never know. You will never know until you actually go into it. And that's why it links to what I said about the business as well. You don't think about the what ifs. You just worry about the now and solve the problem on the way. If I'm thinking this person doesn't like me, why am I going to think of that? I'll have to find that out after I've spoken to them. How can I know they won't like me until I speak to them? You find that out after you go to speak to them. So don't even think about these things. Don't overthink the beginning. Just be like, okay then, this person I have an interest in, let me approach them. Let me talk to them. Okay, let's say for example, this person's just sitting, let's say you walk into like a gallery. And one thing that I saw was one of the most extravagant things was there was a girl there and she was sitting there I think it is portraiting or re-sketching somebody else's piece of art. I could have easily just gone up to her and said, okay, wow, like, how long have you been interested in art? Why are you interested in art? This, that, and the third. And just had a simple conversation. There's no issue with that. But when you start to overthink it, you would never, ever want to get yourself in those conversations. And avoiding those conversations, I believe that it's just hindering yourself from potential gems. Because I promise you, everybody has gems. You can learn from everybody. One of the best things that I've heard was never be unteachable. You can always be taught by somebody. You either learn how to do something or learn how to not do something. So there's always gems everywhere in this world. So for me, I just see it as like a game that try and have as many conversations as possible because you will never know the gems that you may potentially have. The next point is you don't downplay yourself, nor do you boost your own ego. And I think the second point is, people do a lot of the both points. You don't downplay yourself and you don't boost your own ego. So you don't say, I'm not good enough to speak to this person. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to speak to this person. And you also don't say, this person is nothing. I deserve to speak to this person, or this person owes me a conversation. You don't overthink for both sides, because I see both sides are overthinking. You don't say that you are this, you are dirt, you are that. And you don't say, no, I'm better than this, I'm better than that, I'm better than this, I'm better than that. You don't do both of those sides, because both of those sides can be equally as dangerous. Because ultimately, for the person that you're approaching, you will never know the result until it happens. So just be your natural self. You don't say that you're worse, you don't deserve to speak to them, because that will be translated in the way you speak to them. And additionally, you won't be boosting your own ego, because that will also be translated in the way you speak to them. Because let's say you boost your own ego, all you're going to do is care about yourself. And let's say you downplay yourself, all you're going to do is care about them and not actually speak and try and have an actual conversation. You're just going to listen to them and then walk away. And that's not how you have a conversation. So through thinking less, it actually allows you to have better conversations and build better friendships initially. And I've seen from me thinking less, or at least not overthinking the situation, I've actually made more friends from doing that. I've always had such a carefree attitude I've had such a carefree attitude when it comes to making friends, because I'm like, I don't need to overthink these things. Any situation or problem that comes, that's for the future. As of right now, let's just enjoy our time and just be friends together. And then finally, in life, you don't stress about the future, you just have faith in the Lord. And the two scriptures which I got from this was Proverbs 3:5, trust on the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And Matthew 6:34, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day have enough trouble of its own. So don't even worry about the future. Don't worry about tomorrow. Obviously have plans, have dreams, have goals, have things that you need to be executing day by day. But don't be stressing. Don't make it like, every single day your heart is racing every single time you wake up thinking about, okay, how am I going to survive, or how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that? Don't worry about those things. Because one thing I've always said is that don't put your faith or don't trust in things that are finite. God is infinite. Put your faith in God And trust me, you will have no stress in that point. You will just be thinking, oh, I have this, I have that to worry about, but let me just cast it all onto God and just let it all go. And respectfully as possible, it actually takes a lot of underthinking to be able to do that. Because if you overthink the situation, if you come and try and act like an adult and say, okay then, no, I need to be... Respectfully, it takes a lot of underthinking for you to be able to actually do that. Because you're not stressing about what's going to happen tomorrow. You're not stressing about the future. All you're doing is putting all your faith in God. And initially, it's a hard thing to do. But you just have to look at the situation as... Be childlike in that situation. Just be like, no, I'm going to trust in the Lord. He has plans to prosper me and do good for me. He's not trying to set me up. Let me just have faith in him. And thinking less in that situation will do better for you. Because if you overthink and say, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? You're not actually having faith. So, to round things off, thinking less in these specific situations that I've tried to say is technically better for you, in my opinion. In business, it will get you started. It will get the wheel rolling. And then you start to solve all these issues. Then you'll start to see, okay, then this has done that, this has done that. And through thinking less, you actually start to see points on the board. In socializing, you'll see that it's easier for you to make friends because you're not boosting your own ego and you're not downplaying yourself. Because when you boost your own ego, if you don't get the correct result that you're looking for, you're going to feel worse. And if you downplay yourself, and because you downplay yourself, you're always going to get a bad result. So you don't want to be doing anything. Just go in them things without thinking and just be like, okay, then this is it, this is that. And just don't even think about it. Just accept what happens. And in life, don't worry about the future. Don't worry about all these other aspects that you don't have control over. Just have faith in the Lord and just continue to do what you need to do.